The colossal crystalline dome of the Grand Concourse shimmered beneath Delmarith's three suns, scattering vibrant rainbows across a myriad alien faces. The Galactic Peace Summit, unprecedented in 3 centuries, had convened delegates from every sector of explored space. Long warring empires now converged, their age-old animosities provisionally suspended for the sake of parley. Ethan Cole nervously smoothed his Regulation Earth Diplomatic Corps jumpsuit and scowled at the coffee machine. That infernal contraption was malfunctioning yet again. As the sole engineer entrusted to the human delegation, his official title was Technical Support Specialist. But in reality, he was the caffeine-fueled savior responsible for resurrecting the coffee maker whenever Ambassador Thompson craved her vital hourly dose. "Damn it, you over-engineered hot water dispenser," he grumbled, tweaking a pressure valve. "The destiny of interstellar harmony hinges on your flawless operation." The machine groaned ominously, yet Ethan, at 35, hardly embodied diplomacy. His perpetually rumpled brown hair, unremarkable build, and forgettable face rendered him a master of blending. Only his kind hazel eyes, usually crinkling with warmth, were now narrowed in intense focus as he resurrected the antiquated coffee maker. Earth's fledgling status in the galactic community meant their delegation was modest, their table relegated to a lesser position at the summit. Near the rear of the hall, mirroring their rank in interstellar diplomacy, a profound silence descended upon the assembly. Ethan, still absorbed with the coffee machine, remained oblivious until Ambassador Thompson gave him a sharp nudge. "Cole," she whispered urgently, "get to your seat, immediately." "Just another moment, Ambassador. Almost finished." Cole's attention snapped upwards, alerted by the urgency in her voice. The entire hall stood hushed, every gaze riveted on the main entrance, as a regal procession of towering, azure-skinned warriors advanced towards the center. Platform, their armor shimmered like sleek obsidian, embellished with what seemed to be ceremonial battle scars inlaid with silver. Each warrior moved with absolute precision, their steps synchronized in a hypnotic rhythm that was both awe-inspiring and chilling. At their core strode a figure instantly recognizable, Princess Kelvara of the Vari Empire. Even Ethan, with his scant regard for galactic affairs, knew her immediately. The most formidable warrior in the cosmos, undefeated in battle, and successor to the most aggressively martial empire. Her galaxy-spanning exploits were the stuff of legend. Her combat mastery inspired dread-filled whispers across all known space. Towering above others, her sapphire hide bore ritual scars that chronicled her triumphs. A tight, silver braid cascading down her back, framed eyes of pure black, save for the piercing white pinpricks where pupils should have been, as she surveyed the room with frigid calculation. "Holy shit," Ethan breathed, utterly forgetting his coffee. The Varari delegation froze. In the hall's heart, Princess Kavara advanced, her ceremonial battle sword, a scimitar that devoured light itself, at her side. "I stand before this formidable gathering, the envoy of the enduring Varkari Empire," she declared, her voice resonating powerfully. "We convene to ascertain whether concord can be forged, or whether conflict is unavoidable." A wave of apprehension spread through the assembly. "But first," she continued, "as custom dictates, I present the challenge of honor." The murmur intensified, became a palpable wave of tension. Ambassador Thompson seized Ethan's arm. "Pull back now," she hissed urgently. "This is dire." "What's unfolding?" Ethan questioned, bewildered. The Varari invariably present a ceremonial trial before substantive talks. It's customary they select a combatant to face their fiercest warrior in a controlled engagement. It's emblematic, designed to define dominance, preceding discussions. So who's our contender? Thompson's face paled. We received no instruction to provide one. This was unanticipated until day 3 on the dais. Princess Kelvara was surveying the assembly. Her piercing eyes swept across each delegation. "I seek Earth's champion," she announced. "Let them emerge and meet me in righteous battle." The human delegation stood paralyzed. Ambassador Thompson appeared on the verge of collapse. "What do we do, Ethan?" he stammered. "I have no idea," Thompson hissed back. "Refusal means diplomatic ruin. Acceptance risks grave injury or utter disgrace." Kelvar's gaze fixed on the Earth contingent. "I see only human cowardice," she proclaimed. Her voice dripped with thinly veiled disdain. Perhaps their presence was a misjudgment, if they're so devoid of valor. "I shall undertake it," Ethan declared, the words surprising even himself. Ambassador Thompson's face paled with dread. "Cole, what in God's name are you contemplating?" "Securing an advantage," he mumbled, striding forward. The room fell into a hushed anticipation as Ethan approached Princess Kelvara, acutely conscious of her towering stature. "Nearly 2 feet, I'd wager, enhancing my threat tenfold as Earth's apex champion," he proclaimed. Praying vocal tremors remained unnoticed, I embrace this duel. A momentary shock rippled across Kelvar's countenance, swiftly morphing into wry amusement. "You?" she questioned, scrutinizing him intensely. "You represent Earth's mightiest combatant." A chuckle rippled through the crowd, abruptly silenced. Ethan's throat constricted. "I am," he managed. Kelvara hoisted her ceremonial blade. "Then brace yourself, Earth's champion. This contest will dictate your people's status in the impending negotiations." Unarmed, unarmored, and untrained, Ethan watched as the princess brandished her sword. Time seemed to distort. He observed her muscles coil, the glint in her eyes, and the eager anticipation on 1,000 alien faces, all expecting his utter defeat. In that split second, Ethan reacted instinctively as Princess Kelvara initiated what was intended as a symbolic blow. Against his shoulder, Ethan surged forward, evading her guard, ducking under her lethal blade, and enveloping her in a powerful embrace. His arms encircled her armored waist, his face nestled against the frigid metal of her breastplate. Ethan Cole, the unassuming coffee machine technician turned unlikely diplomat, offered the galaxy's most formidable warrior a heartfelt, authentic hug. The ensuing silence was deafening, an eternity suspended in time. Then, with a resounding crash that reverberated through the hall like a thunderous explosion, Kelvara released her sword. Ethan, fearing he'd miscalculated. Disastrous blunder began to recoil, yet prematurely a unified inhalation swept through the very assembly, some warriors collapsing. "What atrocity is this?" Kelvara breathed, almost inaudibly, petrified. A never-seen fear replaced her logic. There was panic. Ethan, with genuine remorse, retreated, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "My apologies. Offense was never intended." A chilling silence descended. The Queen Regent sharply commanded, pivoting to her delegation. In the fierce Varari language, she issued a swift order. Immediately, the formidable Varari warriors surged to their feet, encircling Kelvara and Ethan, creating an impenetrable barrier. One of them proclaimed to the assembled onlookers, his voice resonating with authority. "The human has invoked the ancient rite of life binding." He continued with a regal tone, "The challenge meets its conclusion. Negotiations will be suspended until the dawn." Before Ethan could utter a question, he was propelled, practically frog-marched from the hall by a throng of Vari warriors. Princess Kelvara leading the charge, her posture radiating icy rage. As they departed, he caught a glimpse of Ambassador Thompson, her face a mask of conflicted emotions, on the verge of either sobbing uncontrollably or erupting in laughter, both equally ominous. The final image Ethan registered before the doors slammed shut was that of 1,000 assembled dignitaries from across the cosmos, their faces a symphony of shock, horror, and grudging admiration. Whatever he'd just done, it was undoubtedly unforgettable. Done. It was assuredly beyond his purview. The Varari Royal Shuttle, a menacing obsidian vessel, mirrored its intimidating passengers. Ethan perched rigidly, encircled by warriors whose gazes oscillated from intrigue to undisguised animosity. Princess Kelvara, across from him, fixed her dark eyes upon him with laser-like focus. "You possess no comprehension of the ramifications, do you?" she inquired, shattering the oppressive quiet. Ethan hesitated, then began, "I dare say I contravened some. A certain procedure." A noise escaped a warrior, a suppressed chortle. "Procedure," Kelvara echoed, testing the term. "Indeed. By foregoing my challenge for a physical connection, you've initiated an age-old Vari rite, life-binding. This, life-binding human, signifies a marriage proposal before the entire galactic assembly." Ethan's eyes widened, then narrowed. "I've what?" "Among humans, foregoing conflict and offering affection is the most cherished form of courtship. Signifies you've chosen to intertwine our destinies, foregoing a battle of might. I was simply trying to avoid being impaled." Suppressed chuckles rippled through the warriors, swiftly silenced by Kelvara's icy glare. "Your unawareness holds no consequence," she stated, her voice glacial. The binding ritual was enacted publicly, observed by delegates from every prominent faction. "It's irreversible." Ethan raked his fingers through his hair, grappling with the implications. "So what now?" "Right now, you're joining me at the illustrious Varari Royal Palace to undergo the heart trial," she stated. "A gauntlet of challenges designed to ascertain your suitability as my mate." There was an edge in her voice that chilled Ethan to the bone. "And should I falter?" Ethan asked. Kelvara's lips twisted into a semblance of a smile, one that would be unsettling on a human, but on her, it was akin to a predator baring its fangs. "Then your demise is assured," she replied. The warrior beside Ethan murmured, "Do not fret, human. None have ever persevered through the heart trial. Your ordeal shall be mercifully short." "That's hardly as reassuring as you believe," the warrior remarked. Ethan pivoted back to Kelvara, pleading, "There must be a solution. Can't we clarify it was simply a misinterpretation, that hugs on Earth are innocent gestures?" "The ritual has been observed," she reiterated. "Reversing course now would tarnish our honor. I would forfeit my stature, and Earth would be viewed as untrustworthy. So I'm just meant to passively accept this, and perish in your..." A shadow of doubt momentarily clouded Kelvara's expression. "Rejecting the life-binding publicly presents a graver threat to your civilization. The Varari Empire would perceive it as a calculated affront, potentially leading to Earth's demise. My father, General Thax, has consistently championed a forceful strategy for territorial expansion. Your defiance would furnish him with the justification he craves. Ethan, speechless, weighed his bleak choices. Moment he inquired, "About how long do these heart trials typically endure?" "Roughly 3 lunar cycles, approximately 90 Earth days. And throughout that period, what transpires with the Peace Summit?" He persisted, "I shall still be present, as will you, my promised one." A nascent strategy crystallized in Ethan's thoughts. 90 days. Should he manage to survive that duration, perhaps he might unearth a means of extricating himself from this predicament. Or, at the very least, gain sufficient reprieve for Earth's diplomats to secure a degree of safeguard. "Very well," he conceded at last. "I shall partake in your heart trial." Kelvara's gaze sharpened, evidently harboring reservations concerning his swift resignation. "You realize your demise is all but certain?" I grasped the gravity of the situation, yet perhaps I'll defy expectations. The warrior beside him chuckled. I admire this human. He confronts mortality with levity. "Almost brave," Kelvara interjected. "Or perhaps just naive. Still, there's something alluring about his audacity." Ethan pondered if that was a compliment or an insult. Likely both. "So, Ryson, you're involved in this heart trial as well?" The warrior affirmed. "I am the princess's guardian, bound to her fate. I shall observe your trials to demonstrate your value, and with due solemnity, lament your unavoidable defeat, offering no solace, no false hope." As the shuttle plummeted, Ethan beheld the very royal palace for the first time. A colossal edifice of obsidian and shimmering alloys, its towers clawing at the scarlet heavens like a gargantuan predator, a stark contrast to the refined grace of Delmareth's diplomatic hub. Everything about the palace radiated authority, might, and a sense of awe. It was Ethan considered a true embodiment of the beings who had conceived it. As the shuttle touched down on an expansive platform, Kelvara leveled her piercing gaze at him again. "From this juncture, human, you are now irrevocably my betrothed. You will receive the reverence befitting that role until you falter in the heart trial. Savor the moments you have remaining." Following that foreboding adieu, she ascended and glided from the shuttle, her warriors trailing in immaculate formation, save for Rezin, who lingered seated next to Ethan. "Come, human," he expressed, rising and offering a hand. "I shall escort you to your chambers. Endeavor not to displease anyone else en route. Some of our traditions bear repercussions even graver than matrimony to the princess." Honestly, that's the most genuinely insightful thing anyone's uttered to me amidst this entire debacle. Reen's expression subtly softened. "Perhaps you possess a modicum of wisdom after all." As they stepped off, Ethan gazed up at the formidable palace, desperately trying to silence the inner voice shrieking he was hopelessly out of his depth. 90 days. Just survive 90 days. How monumentally challenging could that be? Ethan's chambers within Very Palace were unexpectedly lavish, if one conveniently disregarded that they were, in essence, an opulent, gilded cage. The expansive chamber boasted soaring ceilings and immense windows framing the scarlet heavens and the vast metropolis below. The furnishings, though evidently scaled for a being of greater stature than himself, served their purpose well. His initial night dissolved in a haze of apprehension and space lag, or its galactic counterpart. Dawn erupted with the deafening peal of what resembled ritualistic gongs. Rian arrived to usher him to the morning meal. "The princess bids you attend her in the regal dining chamber," the sentinel conveyed. "Disappointing her would be ill-advised." "Acknowledged," Ethan replied, hastily donning the provided attire, a streamlined iteration of very formal wear tailored for human anatomy. The fabric possessed an unexpected softness, despite its metallic sheen. "Quick inquiry. Are there any crucial protocols I should be aware of before entering? Any societal faux pas to circumvent?" Reen deliberated. "Maintain absolute silence unless directly addressed. Avoid direct eye contact with General Thax. Refrain from physical contact with the princess unless explicitly authorized. Graciously accept all offered sustenance, yet abstain from excessive consumption. More so than the princess herself. And above all, never betray any vulnerability. It's quite a bit to digest, but the absolute baseline for preventing any faux pas. I strongly advise observing the princess meticulously and emulating her actions to the best of your ability. Comprehended? Shadow her lead." Re-scrutinized him, impressed. "You're exhibiting a remarkable composure compared to what I anticipated. Typically, candidates confronting this arduous trial are paralyzed by sheer dread." Ethan merely gave a nonchalant shrug. "Oh, I assure you, I'm petrified. I've simply mastered the art of compartmentalization." Compartmentalization? A human psychological maneuver where you effectively sequester your fear into a mental safe and tackle it later. I'm prioritizing damage control. Exacerbating the situation is not an option. "Intriguing," Reason mused. "Your species' fear coping mechanisms are atypical. The Varari champion fearless confrontation and conquest. Diverse strategies, unified aim," Ethan countered, scrutinizing his reflection while battling his persistently disheveled hair. "Ultimately, we all aspire to conquer our anxieties. Our methodologies simply diverge." "Perhaps," Reason conceded, skepticism lacing his tone. "Come, tardiness is unacceptable. The royal dining hall inspires awe." Its majesty, a sprawling ebony table, commanded the room's core, encircled by regal high-backed chairs akin to thrones, not mere dining seats. Walls showcased weaponry, war banners, and bizarre, preserved creature heads defying identification. Princess Kelvara reigned at the head, her formal armor subtly less deadly than the summits. To her right, a senior Vari male exuded silent authority, his azure skin a deeper hue than before. Kelvara's irises, a deep indigo intersected by a tapestry of combat scars, mapping past violences across his face, General Thax Ethan observed, recalling Reese's cautionary advice against direct eye contact. A host of other Vari warriors ringed the table, their gazes ranging from inquisitive to contemptuous, as Reese guided him towards a vacant chair near the princess. "The human has arrived," Kelvara declared, her voice devoid of emotion. "Ethan Cole, take your seat." Ethan strategically positioned himself, meticulously mirroring the bearing of the others, spine erect, hands flat on the table. A servant promptly materialized, setting a goblet and plate. "I presume your lodgings were agreeable?" Kelvara inquired. "Exceedingly," Ethan responded, maintaining composure. "Your graciousness overwhelms me." A fleeting surprise flickered across the princess's countenance, swiftly masked. Evidently, she hadn't anticipated his grasp of sophisticated Vari etiquette. Ethan offered silent gratitude for the diplomatic primer he'd scanned en route to Delmareth. "The human demonstrates cultural awareness," General Thax remarked, his voice laced with subtle intrigue. Voice a low rumble. Serendipitously, I possess fundamental knowledge, Ethan stated, meticulously avoiding eye contact with the general, his gaze fixed on the table. However, I'm certain there's a vast amount more to assimilate. Precisely, Kelvara responded, commencing with the heart trial. Today, we proclaim the formal betrothal and the initiation of the trial. A feast materialized, platters laden with what appeared to be meat, in states ranging from near tartare to intensely seasoned, accompanied by alien vegetation, scarcely reminiscent of Earth's bounty. The heart trial entails 3 stages, Kivara proceeded, as attendants replenished their goblets with an ethereal blue fluid, the ordeal of physique, the ordeal of intellect, and the ordeal of soul. Each will rigorously evaluate your eligibility as a partner, adhering to Varari heritage. And precisely what do these ordeals encompass? Ethan inquired gingerly, sampling his goblet. The fluid evoked a curious blend of mint and raw energy, should energy possess a taste. Revealing that would nullify the essence, General Thax asserted, preempting Kelvara's reply. The ordeals demand confrontation without prior knowledge. Solely then can we genuinely gauge your caliber, he articulated. It's apparent he lacks it, he asserted. But Kelvara interjected, the initial trial commences at dawn. Prepare for intense physical engagement. Ethan sputtered. Engagement against whom? Myself, naturally, she retorted, as if self-evident. How else to gauge your combative capabilities? I comprehend. Ethan gulped deeply. To clarify, is this a mortal duel? Warriors erupted in laughter. Even Kelvara's lips hinted at amusement. No, mortal, unless I decree it. If I desired your demise, it would already be done. This trial assesses your fortitude, resilience, and combat prowess, not your existence. That outcome might follow, contingent on your showing. That's somewhat comforting, though, General Thax stated icily. The princess is displaying uncommon leniency. Historically, the heart trial doesn't differentiate between defeat and execution. Father, Kelvara cautioned, her voice laced with warning. The human is our honored guest, protected by inviolable custom. He shall receive due deference. Thax's countenance grew sterner, but he dipped his head in acknowledgement. A weighty acknowledgement settled in, as you desire, daughter. A palpable hush descended upon the table, pierced solely by the clinking of utensils and contented murmurs. Ethan, meticulously heeding his directives, mirrored Kelvara's rhythm, taking a measured bite and a delicate sip in unison. Enlighten me, human, a fellow warrior interjected abruptly. What disciplines of combat have you mastered? Ethan paused momentarily. Well, I once participated in a rudimentary self-defense course. The warrior momentarily paused. A class, precisely. A compact course spanning 6 weeks. Each Thursday, I acquired skills in escaping restraints and identifying vital strike points against potential assailants. Silence fell upon the table once more, now tinged with astonishment rather than unease. You're merely a warrior, someone inquired, disbelief evident. Surely Earth's champion boasts proficiency in diverse martial arts. I'm an engineer, Ethan conceded. I resolve problems. My battles are primarily against faulty machinery. General Thax emphatically slammed his goblet onto the table. This is Are you seriously suggesting Earth dispatched an unprepared technician as their summit representative? This is an absolute affront to the esteemed Vari Empire. Kelvara's voice cut through the air. The human didn't seek this position. He volunteered when others faltered. There's inherent valor in that, regardless of experience. There's also blatant recklessness, Thax retorted. Or perhaps calculated deceit. Does Earth presume they can flout our customs without consequence? Ethan, abandoning Rhys's counsel in his annoyance, interjected, Earth was ignorant of your traditions because you failed to inform us. We weren't even intended to participate. Final hour, our invite surfaced mere 72 hours prior. This bombshell ignited a fresh wave of astonishment. Authentic? Kelvar probed, eyes locking onto Reen. The warrior conceded with reluctance. Affirmative, Your Highness. Earth's contingent was indeed a recent addition. Their pre-summit orientations were likely truncated. Listen, Ethan urged. This entire predicament stems from a simple error. I harbor no intent to offend or ridicule your revered customs. I was utterly unaware of the implications involved. General Thax's countenance remained formidable, yet Kelvar's features betrayed a faint, almost imperceptible amelioration, one that would have likely escaped attention had Ethan not been observing her with such meticulous focus. Unfamiliarity with the law offers no protection from its repercussions, she articulated, though her inflection was noticeably less severe. The life-binding ceremony has been observed. The heart trial is now inevitable. Understood, I affirmed. Ethan had reassured her, and I wasn't reneging. I simply sought deeper cultural insight. Kelvara scrutinized me, then conceded, Very well. Post-meal, Rhys will grant you access to our historical repository. Imbue yourself with our customs before tomorrow's ordeal. Thank you, Princess, Ethan expressed, genuinely appreciative. That's all I request. General Thax stood abruptly. Duty calls, he declared, his displeasure palpable. Princess, we shall confer later. With that, he departed. He stormed from the chamber, his boots resonating on the gleaming floor. You've incensed him, Rhys, Ethan heard murmured. So I surmise, Ethan responded, his voice low. Is that problematic? Rhys's expression remained serious. General Thax harbors grudges fiercely and has always disapproved of outsiders. Fantastic. I've managed to antagonize the very Empire's foremost military leader. The day unfolds brilliantly, he replied, a hint of sarcasm in his tone. Quite the contrary, Kelvara interjected, her keen hearing surprising Ethan. You've earned a sliver of his respect. Hardly anyone would be bold enough to speak so candidly before my father, she remarked. It wasn't deliberate, Ethan confessed. Among the Varari, deeds outweigh intent, she cautioned. Remember that during the heart trial. As the meal ended and warriors scattered, Kelvara signaled Ethan to stay. A piece of advice, human, she began, once they were fairly secluded with reason respectfully apart. Don't dismiss my father's wariness as simple bias. His distrust towards other species is profoundly grounded in our shared past. Understood, Ethan replied, though uncertainty lingered. I'll strive for more diplomacy going forward. No, she countered, startling him. Brutal honesty and directness earn my respect. Deception, never. She stood, looming over him. I expect you at dawn. Prepare with utmost diligence. With that, she departed, leaving Ethan with his thoughts and a mounting sense of foreboding about the coming day. The Vari Historical Archives resided within an immense, shadowy chamber deep beneath the palace. Endless rows of crystalline data repositories, storage units, radiant with a gentle, rhythmic pulse, adorned the walls, housing the exhaustive historical archives of the Varari, Rissan narrated, guiding Ethan through the intricate space. Over 10 millennia of wisdom compressed here, and you have roughly 12 hours to absorb it, Ethan quipped. Rissan directed him to a human-adapted terminal. This interface, programmed in your native tongue, will grant you immediate access to crucial information, he stated. Ethan expressed gratitude, sinking into the chair, characteristically small for humans. Considerable for him. I'm profoundly grateful for the assistance. Reen paused, then inquired, "Why did you intervene? Why step forward as Earth's champion, knowing you were ill-prepared? You must have grasped the inherent danger." Ethan pondered the question with sincerity. It was largely spontaneous. Ambassador Thompson appeared utterly petrified, and I simply responded instinctively. I hoped to stall, perhaps endure a symbolic setback, allowing seasoned diplomats to negotiate a resolution. And the embrace. Was that also impulsive? Ethan offered a wry smile. That was utter self-preservation. In my culture, an embrace poses far less of a threat than engaging in a sword fight. Yet inadvertently, you've enthralled yourself to the galaxy's deadliest warrior. The irony isn't unnoticed. I've scrutinized him with an unnerving focus, making Ethan uneasy. You're either exceptionally courageous or utterly reckless, likely a blend, Ethan conceded. I'm clearly outmatched, but I'm salvaging a dire scenario. I aim to avert an interstellar crisis and certainly avoid perishing in archaic, ritualistic combat. Thus, I'll absorb every detail and anticipate the best outcome. Reen was taken aback when the guard tenderly placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture that felt reassuringly friendly. Your sheer honesty is remarkably unique, human. Most Outlanders attempt to wow us with fabricated courage, but I'm far too weary for any pretense. I'm spent. His words were met with what sounded like a faint chuckle from the Protector. I shall leave you to your research. A retainer will deliver victuals and beverages. If you have inquiries, depress this activator. He gestured towards a tiny crimson crystal set into the console. You'll find me ever vigilant tonight. I am the princess's protector, bound to never slumber whilst she may be in need of me. As Reen vanished, Ethan found himself isolated with a staggering 10 millennia of very history looming over him and a rapidly encroaching deadline. With a heavy sigh, he pivoted towards the terminal, diving headfirst into the quest for intel on the fabled heart trial. What surfaced was deeply unsettling. The heart trial, it seemed, was a venerable tradition, its roots buried in the nascent days of the Vari Empire. Initially, it served as a gauntlet of rigorous assessments for prospective consorts of the royal lineage, meticulously crafted to guarantee that only the most formidable, intellectually sharp, and spiritually resonant candidates would integrate into the sovereign family. Varari grew fiercely militaristic, its trials escalating into savage ordeals with a survival rate barely scraping 10% according to ancient texts. The trial of body. Ethan faces tomorrow. Ritual combat against royalty. Victory is unthinkable, an affront to their might. Judges assess form, resilience, bravery, pain tolerance. Great, Ethan sighed. So I elegantly lose, absorbing punishment. The trial of mind was a different beast entirely, a variable frequently customized for each royal, encompassing strategic games, diplomatic simulations, or intellectual evaluations. Failure resulted in immediate elimination and, historically, execution. The spirit trial, veiled in mystery, was documented as the unveiling of the authentic self and the ultimate worthiness assessment. Its exact nature remained frustratingly ambiguous. As time elapsed, Ethan delved further, examining not merely the heart trial, but also broader vari-culture. Delving into their formidable warrior ethos, intricate honor code, and unwavering belief in strength as the paramount virtue, he unearthed glimpses of bygone eras predating General Thax's ascent and the military purists. Back then, the Varari prized poetry, music, and philosophical debates alongside martial excellence. Most intriguingly, he discerned that the life-binding ritual, inadvertently triggered by his embrace, stemmed not from a marriage proposal, but from an ancient peace offering, where adversaries would reconcile through an embrace. Demonstrating solidarity over strife, it morphed into a romantic emblem. Thus, my peace overture was misconstrued as a proposal, Ethan reflected, intrigued. He immersed himself in vari-culture, history, and psyche. As daybreak neared, his focus shifted from the trial to a deeper understanding of its people, especially Princess Kelvara and General Thax, who had ascended amidst turmoil. External menaces loomed over the esteemed Vari Empire. His strategic military endeavors had broadened their domain and fortified their frontiers, but this came at the expense of escalating estrangement from other species under his dominion. The formerly vibrant Vari diplomatic corps had dwindled to a mere military attaché, and cultural interchange had practically ground to a halt. Kivara, his cherished adopted daughter and successor, was nurtured within this martial atmosphere. Her combat mastery was renowned, even amongst the elite Varari, and she had remained undefeated in organized combat. Nevertheless, more recent accounts hinted at developing concerns. Records detailed friction between her and her father, nuanced policy disagreements, minor independent actions hinting she didn't fully embrace his isolationist stance. As Ethan, exhausted, left the terminal, he grasped the situation marginally better. Insufficient for safe navigation, yet enough for a nascent idea. If the Vari prized dominance, he'd demonstrate a unique resilience, unfamiliar but potentially respected, a gamble yet. His sole arena strategy involved a round pit with stadium seating, evoking ancient Roman colosseums. Dawn's long shadows stretched as Ethan, heart pounding, stood at one entrance. Re-equipped him with light training armor, heavy yet preferable, and a staff, his only viable weapon. "Remember," Reen advised during their wait. "The princess expects valiant combat and unwavering resolve, not just victory. Surrender isn't weakness, but needless suffering is folly. Fight with honor, lose with grace." As a deep horn echoed, Riand affirmed, "The moment arrives. May your ancestors sharpen your blade." Ethan Cole responded, "Thank you, I believe." Entering the sunlit arena, he faced rows of stoic Vari warriors and nobles. At the zenith, General Thax observed with chilling indifference. As Princess Kelvara materialized from the far entrance, she sported only essential armor, radiating self-assurance. A practice sword, no less menacing for its dulled edge, was in her grasp. Her silver hair was severely bound, and her intense gaze locked onto Ethan, a predator assessing its prey. They converged at the arena's core, a white circle etched in the sand, marking their battleground. "The trial of strength commences," a herald proclaimed from the stands. "Princess Kelvara shall evaluate the physical prowess of the human, Ethan Cole. This trial concludes when one..." combatant becomes incapacitated or exits the arena. Kelvara brandished her sword in salute. Ethan clumsily mirrored the gesture with his staff. "Commence!" the herald announced. Kelvara moved with blinding speed, her assault nearly imperceptible. One instant she stood poised, the next her sword arced towards his core. Sheer instinct compelled him to raise his staff in defense, yet the force of her strike sent him reeling. "Impressive," she remarked, sounding faintly astonished. "Your reflexes are remarkably sharp, at the very least." "Appreciate it," Ethan wheezed. Striving to recover, he confessed, "I immerse myself in video games." Her brow arched, perplexed, yet she relentlessly pressed her attack, unleashing a flurry of strikes too swift to follow, much less parry. He deflected or evaded most, but those that landed sent jolts of agony through his limbs. Soon, he gasped for air, his muscles ablaze. Kelvara, however, remained unruffled. "You're restraining yourself," he challenged during a momentary lull. "Undeniably," she retorted. "Were I to unleash my full power, you would be dead already." Valid point, they circled each other. Ethan struggling to regain his breath while seeking any weakness in her defenses. There was none. Her stance was flawless, her guard unbreakable. As she unleashed another attack, Ethan opted to explore a different approach. Instead of trying to parry or retaliate a futile tactic against someone far more powerful and adept, he prioritized evasion. He dodged, swerved, and tumbled, leveraging his diminished stature and reduced mass to remain narrowly outside the range of her weapon. This appeared to pique her interest. "You're evolving," she remarked. "Excellent. I'm an engineer," he retorted breathlessly. "Adaptation is our forte." The duel raged on. Vera's calculated strikes met Ethan's increasingly frantic dodges. The hushed crowd erupted in whispers at Ethan's ingenious escapes. But fatigue consumed him. His lungs screamed, legs quaked, reflexes dulled. Inevitably, a searing pain bloomed as her blade found its mark, sending him reeling, and narrowly averted disaster by raising his staff to parry her ensuing attack. The force unleashed reverberated through his throbbing arms. "Yield," Kivara proposed with a hint of empathy. "You've demonstrated ample valor, Ethan." He contemplated it, realizing he was demonstrably outclassed, and further conflict would only escalate his suffering. However, a potent cocktail of pride, sheer tenacity, or perhaps the grim reality of Earth's vulnerable diplomatic standing compelled him to vehemently refuse, "Not yet." He strained. Her gaze intensified. "Very well." The subsequent strike landed squarely on his shoulder, violently forcing him to his knees. His staff shattered, hitting the earth near him. Kelvara loomed, blade poised for the final blow. Then, a realization washed over Ethan. A conventional victory was impossible, but perhaps a different kind of strength existed. As Kelvara's sword fell, Ethan defied expectation. He offered a heartfelt smile. "Thank you," he whispered. The sword halted mere inches away, Kelvara's fierce resolve dissolving into confusion. "Pardon? What was that?" I expressed my deepest gratitude for the instruction. I've gained profound insights into very combat strategies today. The arena fell into an absolute hush. Even the breeze seemed to pause in anticipation. "You're expressing thankfulness for your defeat?" "Knowledge is never a loss," Ethan responded, drawing inspiration from philosophical scriptures he'd examined the previous evening. Only lack of awareness can truly triumph. Kelvara's eyes grew wide, acknowledging the citation. She remained motionless for a time, blade still aloft, before gradually sheathed it. "You've delved into our historical writings," she murmured, her tone barely audible. The audience strained to hear. "I acted, desiring a deeper understanding of your people." A weighty silence followed. Then, astonishing all, including Ethan, Princess Kelvara offered her hand. "Rise," she proclaimed, her voice resonating. "You have overcome the physical trial with surprising insight." Ethan accepted her hand, allowing her to raise him. His body screamed in protest, yet he stood tall, meeting her gaze. "The human has persevered, remaining conscious and within the boundary," she declared to the captivated crowd. "The ordeal of the flesh concludes." A wave of astonishment surged through the spectators. From his lofty vantage, General Thax leaned in, his face a storm of fury. "This is absolutely unheard of," he boomed. "The human demonstrably lost the battle. The stipulations for ending the trial remain unfulfilled." Kelvar retorted, "As the instigator of this challenge, I possess the authority to decree its completion." Thax's jaw tightened, but he offered no further resistance. With a sharp nod, he ascended and exited the arena, his profound dissatisfaction palpable in every step. As the audience dissipated, Kelvara ursto Ethan, her voice hushed. "That was truly unforeseen. You battled not with might, but intellect." Ethan, wincing, replied, "I simply utilized my available resources, suspecting a fractured rib." "Indeed," she mused, observing him intently. "Perhaps your vulnerability is overstated." Before he could retort, she departed the arena, leaving him teetering, utterly drained. Reinvigorated, Reen materialized, bracing him as his weary legs buckled. "What in the world did you do?" the warrior inquired, a blend of awe and worry in his tone. "The princess has never deviated from a trial's natural course. I simply redefined the parameters," Ethan murmured, before succumbing to unconsciousness. Ethan stirred in his room, his form swathed in cerulean restorative bandages. Reen was stationed nearby, emanating the air of a hardened Earth crime drama protector. "How long was I sidelined?" Ethan croaked. "A mere 6 hours," Resin responded. The medic reported 3 fractured ribs, significant muscle trauma, and a slight concussion. These bandages should hasten recovery, but anticipate several days of discomfort. Fantastic, perfect timing for the impending trial, I presume? Actually, the princess deferred the mental trial until your complete recovery. She deemed it unjust to evaluate your intellect while physically compromised. Ethan was taken aback by the considerate gesture. "That's surprisingly thoughtful." "The princess isn't devoid of honor," Rhys asserted with a touch of defensiveness. "Doesn't pursue undue edge. Didn't imply you did," Ethan affirmed, just startled by Heart Trial's lore. Reason's face eased. "Princess differs greatly from those before her. Father sees it as weakness." He paused, uneasy. "Others deem it strength," Ethan concluded. Reason nodded. Some recall days before General Thax's ascendance. The Very were legendary, celebrated not merely for their martial prowess, but also for their profound wisdom, exquisite art, and insightful philosophy. You're one of them, aren't you? That's why you've been assisting me." The warrior's expression tightened, becoming more reserved. "I am devoted to the princess. My own perspectives hold no weight. Ethan, sensing the shift, opted not to press the issue. All right then. When can I finally ditch this bed? The technicians will be back in a few hours to evaluate your recovery. Until then, you're instructed to recuperate. Ethan exhaled wearily, sinking back into the pillows. Not like I have a choice, I guess. Reen straightened. I must deliver my report to the princess. A devoted attendant will remain readily available should you require any assistance. As he neared the exit, Ethan interjected, expressing his gratitude for everything. The sentinel momentarily halted, offering a subtle nod before his departure. Now alone, Ethan gazed upwards, mentally revisiting the combat trial. Having narrowly prevailed, he recognized the escalating difficulty of future trials. A more effective strategy than mere improvisation was essential. His contemplation was broken by the re-entry of Princess Kelvara herself. Clad not in armor but rather exquisite diplomatic robes, he began, "Princess," attempting to rise, a sharp pain immediately curtailing his efforts. "Conserve your strength," she instructed, approaching his bedside. "Your injuries necessitate absolute repose." "Is all well?" he inquired, perplexed by her unannounced presence. "I am here to evaluate your state," she responded, her tone measured. "The ordeal of mind demands complete mental acuity. It would be untenable to continue until you are fully restored. So I have been informed." "I appreciate the thoughtfulness," he replied. She observed him intently, her dark eyes inscrutable. "Your performance in the body trial was remarkable." "I keep hearing that." "You cited General Vexlar. His philosophy hasn't been part of Vari education for ages." "I discovered his works in the archives. They deeply resonated with me." Kelvara inclined her head. "Why?" "He grasped that authentic strength transcends brute force. It embodies profound wisdom, adaptability, and emotional fortitude, qualities humans prize." "Emotions are a vulnerability," she retorted. "But there..." A subtle tremor laced her voice, a question hanging in the air. Were they truly broken, or simply possessed of a unique resilience? A strength perhaps less obvious in battle, yet undeniably potent. Silence stretched as her gaze drifted to the window, lost in the vibrant hues of the twilight sky. "You articulate the musings of a philosopher, not the pragmatism of a soldier." "On Earth," Ethan countered, "we often find ourselves to be both." Curiosity sparked in her eyes. "Enlighten me about Earth. Disregard the sterile reports of military might and political machinations. Speak to me of its people." It was an unanticipated invitation, and Ethan embraced the chance to unveil the soul of his home. In the coming hour, he regaled her with tales of Earth, its vibrant tapestry of cultures, its captivating art and soul-stirring music, its perplexing contradictions and intricate complexities. He spoke of humanity's indomitable resilience, of communities uniting in the wake of devastation, of our potential for both unspeakable brutality and remarkable compassion. Kelvara absorbed it all with striking focus, interjecting now and then with insightful questions that betrayed a sincere fascination with the human spirit. "Your species presents a compelling enigma," she concluded at last. "You are physically outmatched by numerous other races, yet you have not merely survived, but flourished. And yet you engage in internecine warfare. Ironically, you champion tranquility, yet preach it as your ultimate aspiration. You profess to cherish existence, yet jeopardize it for intangible notions such as affection and liberty. "We embody complexities," Ethan remarked with a subtle grin. "It's quintessentially human." "Perhaps," she admitted, before swiftly shifting the discourse. "The peace accord proceedings resume tomorrow. I am obligated to participate. You shall accompany me, pending clearance from the medical personnel for travel." "Affirmative. As my intended spouse, your attendance is customary at state affairs, correct?" The betrothal. I had nearly relegated that to oblivion. A hint of playful amusement danced on her face. Few could forget being tethered to the aura of the very empire. "Indeed, I've been rather preoccupied. Brushes with death can be quite unsettling." This time, her lips undeniably tilted into a smile. "Rest, Ethan Cole. We shall converse again on the morrow." As she departed, Ethan caught himself smiling amidst the pain. It was a minor victory, but it felt like advancement. Princess Kelvara, the galaxy's most formidable warrior, had almost smiled at him. Perhaps, just perhaps, he wouldn't perish in this agonizing ordeal after all. The Peace Summit was resurrected within the Grand Hall of Delmareth. The very site of Ethan's recent trial now saw him return, not as a nameless technician, but as Princess Kelvara's officially recognized fiancé. He strode beside her, leading the Varari delegation, sparking a potent blend of astonishment, intrigue, and barely concealed mockery among the gathered dignitaries. Ambassador Thompson, upon spotting him, seemed on the verge of collapsing. "Good to see you again, Cole," he greeted as the Varari delegation settled in. She snapped back, a venomous whisper. "What in the world is happening?" "Rumor has it you're betrothed to the princess, embroiled in a perilous trial, causing a diplomatic frenzy. It's quite a tale." "In essence, a Varick proposal mishap requires me to demonstrate my value through deadly trials." Thompson, stunned, questioned his veracity. "If only," he sighed, as General Thax's commanding presence silenced the assembly. "Ambassador Thompson," he greeted, said his resonant voice laced with a subtle menace. "I presume Earth's delegation is ready to deliberate on the updated territorial accords." Thompson visibly composed herself, exhibiting her diplomatic finesse. "Naturally, General Earth remains receptive to amicable negotiation." "Excellent, because the stipulations have evolved since our prior correspondence." Ethan stiffened, detecting the veiled threat within the General's composed delivery. "Evolved in what manner?" Thompson inquired cautiously in consideration of the latest circumstances. Thax stated, his gaze drifting momentarily towards Ethan. "The Varari Empire necessitates supplementary security assurances, notably the demilitarization of Earth's off-world settlements and total access to your interstellar gateway system." Thompson's face stayed impassive, but Ethan detected the apprehension in her gaze. "General, these are momentous alterations. Earth's governing bodies will undoubtedly require deliberation." Thax conceded smoothly. "By all means, take your time. The Vari are enduring." His inflection hinted that such endurance was finite. As he shifted to converse with other diplomats, Thompson pivoted to Ethan, her tone pressing but hushed. "Cole, what in the world have you done? The original accord was initially about restricted trade privileges and a neutrality agreement, but now they're practically strong-arming us into surrendering our entire defensive framework." "It's not about my actions," Ethan exclaimed, the revelation dawning. "It revolves around the General's designs, He's exploiting my engagement to Kelvara as coercion. Should I falter in the heart trial, Earth's rejection of the Virari will be implied, furnishing him the rationale he needs for invasion. And if I triumph, I doubt that scenario factors into his machinations. The summit commenced before they could elaborate, with delegates from diverse species presenting in sequence. Throughout the convention, Ethan scrutinized the delegation's stances on interstellar commerce, territorial claims, and security protocols. General Fax's Virari, unyielding, demanded concessions from minor factions while conceding minimally. The Triaxian Confederation, Mithrite Collective, and Hazak Dominion presented rival claims, crafting an intricate network of clashing ambitions. Princess Kelvara observed intently. Her father remained taciturn, yet Ethan keenly observed her understated responses to each proposition. A momentary squint here, an almost imperceptible postural adjustment there. He discerned she wasn't completely in lockstep with her father's stances. He understood her perspective possessed subtleties that Thax either overlooked or deliberately disregarded. As the session adjourned for a break, Ethan discovered himself encircled by inquisitive delegates from diverse species, all keen to encounter the human seemingly promised to the formidable Very Princess. "Is it accurate that you triumphed over her in battle?" inquired a petite avian entity of unknown origin. "No, that's incorrect. I've heard whispers he deployed a clandestine Earth weapon," a delegate blurted out. "Indeed. Rumor has it he's Earth's most lethal assassin," a third chimed in. Ethan sighed, surrendering to the burgeoning myths. Just as he braced himself to debunk the claims, Reen materialized. "The princess summons you," the warrior announced with formality, a subtle spark of mirth dancing in his eyes as he surveyed the chattering delegates. Thankful for the reprieve. "Ethan, I pursued Riand into this secluded antechamber. Kelvara was present, scrutinizing records on a holographic interface. You requested my presence, Princess," Ethan stated, attempting to project a stronger demeanor than his inner state reflected. Dismissing the display with a swift motion, she responded, "The whispers are escalating at an alarming rate. Rumor has it I'm some lethal operative, a clandestine weapon, but the reality is far more mundane." "Oh, really?" she inquired, scrutinizing him. "An ordinary human surviving the trial against the Virari heir? Unheard of. It was just luck." "Absolutely not," she countered, her voice resolute. "Luck played no role. You calculated. You evolved. You utilized mental acuity over brute strength." She advanced, her stature compelling him to meet her eyes. "My father suspects you're an element in an elaborate Earth scheme to subvert Virari leadership." Ethan scoffed. "If we possessed such brilliance, peace summits would be unnecessary." "I'm inclined to concur," she responded, surprising him. "Hence my proposition. I'm all ears." The Mind Crucible commences tomorrow, typically assessing strategic prowess via simulated battles or intricate puzzles. However, I'm intrigued by your unique human insights. Therefore, I propose a different approach. Accompany me to negotiations with the Triaxian Confederation. You will observe and offer your perspective. Privately, and exhibit your diplomatic finesse. This represents your intellectual challenge, Ethan." He pondered this. While less physically risky than a conventional trial, interstellar diplomacy lay vastly beyond his skill set. "Why?" he inquired. "Modify the trial for me." Kelvara paused, seemingly weighing her words. "My father envisions a Virari empire defined by seclusion and martial supremacy. a path we've trod for generations, yet I harbor reservations. Pondering if sheer power secures survival in a volatile galaxy, ancient texts highlight equilibrium, wisdom and force intertwined. If Earth discovered an alternative strength, as asserted, I seek comprehension. This profoundly personal revelation cemented her trust, and Ethan, aware of its gravity, responded, I concur, yet be warned, I'm an engineer, not a diplomat. My forte lies in rectifying issues, not forging agreements. Perhaps, she countered, these negotiations require precisely that, a systemic problem solver. Be salvaged rather than victories to be secured. Before Ethan could retort, the door swung open, and General Thax strode in, his face clouding over at their intimate exchange. Daughter, he stated icily, the Talaxian ambassador anticipates your decision regarding his proposition. I shall be there momentarily. Father, she responded, her tone carefully measured. I was merely deliberating on tomorrow's trial of minds with my fiancée. Thax's glare swiveled to Ethan, undisguised scorn etched across his features. Do not neglect your allegiance to Calavera. This accord is provisional. Once the human falters in the heart trial, we shall revert to our initial strategy. Naturally, Father, she affirmed, though Ethan perceived a subtle rigidity in her stance after Thax departed. Ethan pivoted towards her. What initial strategy was he alluding to? Calvara's countenance became veiled. It is inconsequential to you. If it pertains to Earth, it assuredly is my concern. She scrutinized him for a long moment. My father is convinced that the galaxy teeters on the precipice of a fresh war. He's determined to ensure the Vari Empire is strategically ready when it ignites. The subtext was undeniable. War was on the horizon. The Varari are perpetually strategizing for conflict, Ethan Cole. It's ingrained in our very essence. Is it also your way? The question momentarily unsettled her. I am Vari, she declared, yet the reply felt rote, almost practiced. That's not what I inquired. Their gazes locked, and for a fleeting instant, Ethan detected a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a fissure in the seemingly impenetrable facade of the warrior princess. The fleeting moment vanished, her visage hardening. Return to the Earth delegation. I will summon you when my trial commences. As Ethan departed the antechamber, he couldn't dispel the sensation of witnessing something profoundly rare. A glimpse into the princess's true self, the individual concealed beneath the regal facade. He suspected this hidden persona was infinitely more intricate than the formidable warrior the galaxy so dreaded. The Talaxian Confederation's diplomatic vessel stood as an awe-inspiring testament to bioengineered technology, a sentient ship that appeared to respire and resonate with life as Ethan. Princess Kavara and a select Vari delegation journeyed to the negotiations. Remember, Rissyn cautioned, as they lingered in an antechamber resembling a colossal artery, this constitutes your ultimate test. The princess will scrutinize your strategic acumen, your flexibility, and your grasp of intricate diplomatic dynamics. No sweat, Ethan quipped. Just interstellar harmony hanging in the balance. Precisely, Rissyn affirmed, oblivious to the sarcasm. The Trilaxians, age-old adversaries of the Varari, hold the key to territorial rights within the... For the coming century, as Ethan prepped to delve deeper into the Corellian nebula, A wall section shimmered, unveiling a Trilaxian diplomat, a slender, radiant being whose 4 elegant arms flowed with mesmerizing fluidity. "The Council awaits," the diplomat announced, voice like chimes. Calavara acknowledged with poise, leading their team into the immense, domed council chamber where the very walls pulsed with responsive light, mirroring the collective sentiment. At its heart rested a round table. As negotiations commenced, Ethan silently observed the 5 esteemed Trilaxian representatives. He keenly followed their intricate discourse on territorial limits, resource allocation, and security protocols. The Trilaxians' eloquent, metaphor-rich language differed markedly from the Varari's blunt terminology. After an hour of courteous yet resolute debate, the senior Trilaxian counselor, his skin radiating authority, turned his gaze to Kavara. "Princess of the Vari, we have deliberated upon these matters, exploring them from every conceivable angle. Celestial orbits, eternally distant, challenge resolution. A fresh lens might guide us. Your bonded human, Kelvara's sacred tie, holds earthly wisdom." Ethan, thrust forward, admitted, not a diplomat, but offered, "Engineering shows incompatibility resolves by bridging systems, not altering them." To operate autonomously yet collaboratively, the Trilaxians exchanged curious glances, their skin subtly shifting. "Elaborate, Earthling," the senior counselor urged, intrigued. Ethan elaborated. "The Varari, as I perceive it, require fortified borders and definitive territorial lines, clearly demarcated spaces under their absolute dominion. Conversely, the Trilaxians, with their adaptable bioorganic ships and tech, thrive on fluidity and permeable zones, allowing for natural expansion and contraction synchronized with your biological rhythms." He gestured towards a projected star map. On the table, imagine replacing a rigid border with a seamless transition zone. Core domains remain exclusively controlled, yet shared governance thrives in peripheral regions, with dynamic regulations aligning with Trilaxian biorhythms. Silence enveloped the chamber as delegations pondered this novel concept. "Unprecedented," murmured a Varari warrior, "but intriguingly viable." Kelvara, scrutinizing the map, mused, "A fluid frontier. A framework that remains foreseeable and controlled would allay our security anxieties while respecting Trilaxian life-sustaining needs." The elder Trilaxian advisor's skin shimmered with patterns signifying accord. This human perceives integrated wholes rather than fractured elements, a revitalizing perspective. The ensuing hours saw negotiations proceed, with new energy dedicated to actualizing Ethan's vision. By the session's close, a provisional accord had been authored, marking the inaugural genuine headway in the discussions. Had been gridlocked for ages. As they retreated to the Varari shuttle, Kelvara remained taciturn, her visage inscrutable. Only when secluded in her private shipboard sanctuary did she articulate. "You tackled the dilemma as a mere technician, devoid of the warrior's or diplomat's insight." She continued, "You perceived a system ripe for optimization, not a conflict demanding victory, or a compromise necessitating shrewd negotiation. Alas, that is precisely how I am conditioned to perceive." Ethan conceded that uncovering the core requirements of each element and crafting an interface to expertly fulfill them is paramount. He noted this contrasted with Vari's methodologies. "Did it succeed?" she inquired. "Yes," he confirmed. The Trilaxians have conceded to terms previously declined for 3 generations. My father will be surprised. Is that auspicious? Kelvar's expression intensified subtly. My father's endorsement is irrelevant to the trial's evaluation. My judgment alone dictates the outcome. And your verdict? She scrutinized him intently, her obsidian eyes piercing. Incredible! You've triumphed in the cerebral challenge, Ethan Cole. Your tactics were unorthodox, yet undeniably successful. You showcased remarkable resilience, profound comprehension, and a unique fortitude I hadn't fully appreciated. Gratitude surged through him. Thank you, Princess. However, her voice deepened with gravity. The ultimate trial, the crucible of the soul, will prove far more arduous. It commences at dawn, and will probe not your physical form, nor your intellect, but the very core of your being. What precisely does that entail? He inquired. It signifies, she responded softly, that on the morrow, you will confront your authentic self. Few souls, regardless of species, are truly ready for that reckoning. With those unsettling words, she dismissed him, leaving Ethan to ponder the fresh ordeal awaiting him in this enigmatic final trial. The eve before the spirit trial, Ethan found slumber elusive. He roamed his chambers, envisioning possibilities, striving to brace himself for a test beyond his comprehension. What did it entail to confront one's authentic self? Was it a psychological assessment, a mental intrusion, or some unique quest? A gentle rap at his door broke his contemplation. As he opened it, Reen was discovered looking distressed outside. "May I come in?" he inquired. "Certainly," Ethan replied, moving aside. "Is anything amiss?" Wren shut the door, lowering his voice. "I'm here not as the princess's guard, but as a friend worried about you. The spirit trial is unlike others. It's incredibly ancient, predating our society's militarization, employing forgotten technology from a bygone era. Directly influences consciousness, a neural interface amplifying the ancestral mirror, unveiling a being's authentic essence. Profound anxieties, concealed yearnings, genuine drives. Absolute transparency reigns, exposing even self-deception." Ethan hesitated. Consequences of unwelcome revelations. Reen's demeanor darkened. The mirror observes, it doesn't condemn. However, the unveiled reality can overwhelm the observer, especially the subject themselves. Reveals the ordeal's near-impossible survival rate. Most break facing their core, succumbing to madness or despair. A rare third path exists. Complete self-acceptance, inner and outer alignment, achieving unprecedented harmony. The mirror merely echoes what's already apparent. No secrets unearthed, no concealed shames revealed, no buried traumas exhumed. And you believe I'm one of those exceedingly rare, truly self-aware individuals? Ethan inquired dubiously. Not quite, Reen conceded, but I suspect you're better equipped than most. You've demonstrated an exceptional capacity to evolve, to transcend traditional thinking, and crucially, you possess a strong sense of self. I'm just a coffee machine technician who's bitten off more than he can chew. Ethan chuckled wryly. Are you logic impaired? Or is there a hidden depth to you that even you haven't discovered yet? The question lingered, heavy with unspoken meaning, unsettling them both. Why reveal this to me? Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Aren't you sworn to the princess and the esteemed Varari Empire? Reen paused, considering his words. "My loyalty is unwavering," he stated. "But true loyalty isn't about mindless conformity. The princess possesses a discerning mind, questioning and pondering. Since your arrival, those inquiries have intensified." "What is your meaning?" Ethan pressed. "I suggest that the result of your spirit trial holds far greater significance than merely your destiny, Ethan Cole. It has the potential to profoundly reshape the course of events." With that chilling contemplation about the Varari Empire's trajectory, Rion bid him farewell, leaving Ethan grappling with his unease and a burgeoning awareness of unseen forces at play. The Chamber of Reflection, site of the spirit trial, lay deep beneath the very palace, a colossal cavern hewn from the planet's very bedrock. Timeless glyphs adorned the walls, radiating a gentle, throbbing luminescence that appeared to emanate from the stone's core, not merely cast upon it. At the chamber's heart resided the ancestral mirror, a colossal arc of seemingly molten metal, its face swirling and morphing like liquid mercury, yet contained by an unseen force field. The chamber's light bounced off its surface, forging dynamic patterns, almost sentient in their movements, as if the mirror possessed life and observed all. Princess Kelvara stood prior to it, garbed not in battle armor, but regal, deep indigo ceremonial robes. Flanking her was General Thax, his face stoic, and a ring of Varari elders, time-worn warriors whose bodies. Ethan bore the marks of relentless battles upon his visage as he entered, escorted by Ree. Every gaze pivoted, locking onto him. "The human now confronts the spirit's ordeal," proclaimed a venerable elder, her voice aged and resonant. "Let him approach the mirror of truth." Ethan advanced, heart pounding against his ribs. The mirror at close range proved even more unnerving, its surface pulling the gaze inward, conjuring a feeling of infinite abyss. The spirit's ordeal represents the ultimate and most hallowed assessment of the soul, Kelvara elucidated, her tone professional yet betraying a subtle undertone. The palpable tension, seemingly unnoticed by anyone but Ethan, will unveil your genuine essence, your profound core. No tactic, no skill can sway the result. The mirror perceives everything. "What exactly am I meant to do?" Ethan inquired, his mouth parched. "Simply graze the surface," she responded. "The mirror will manage the remainder." General Thax advanced. "Be forewarned, mortal. Many have been shattered by the visions within. The mirror offers no deception, nor does it shield the delicate from harsh realities." A subtle undercurrent in his voice hinted at anticipation, maybe even a trace of eagerness. The palpable anticipation radiating from the general unsettled Ethan. It felt almost as though she desired his failure, to witness him crumble beneath the weight of impending disclosure. "Understood," Ethan affirmed, striving for a composure he didn't possess. "I'm prepared." Kavara's fleeting glance met his. Was that a hint of worry he detected? Before he could decipher it, she retreated, rejoining the observing assembly. Ethan inhaled deeply and advanced towards the mirror, its surface churning with increased ferocity as he neared, as if acknowledging his very essence. He lifted his hand, a moment of hesitation. For a fleeting moment, Ethan's palm met the liquid metal, an electrifying surge coursing through him, a jolt that spiraled into his mind. The chamber evaporated, replaced by a swirling abyss, solidifying into his boyhood abode. He stood in the humble apartment's living room where he spent his childhood. His mother was at the kitchen table, with a gentle smile of love and guidance, assisting young Ethan with his studies. "You see, sweetheart," she says tenderly, "the system operates like a riddle. Understand how the components connect." And he could conquer anything. The narrative leaped through vibrant college dorms, cutting-edge engineering labs, his inaugural tech startup gig, crests of triumph, valleys of failure, constant learning, and exponential growth, all orbiting a central concept: mastering systems, crafting brilliant solutions, mending what was fractured. Then arose military recruitment, specialized tutelage, classified missions. Ethan tensed, long dormant, deliberately buried memories now erupting. Himself in uniform, not as a typical soldier, but a member of a clandestine psychological operations conflict unit. De-escalation, the empathy initiative, he recalled now. Prior to his role as a diplomatic corps technician, he participated in a groundbreaking program. Soldiers honed not for combat, but for comprehension, connection, and discovering the shared humanity capable of resolving even the tensest crises. "Your most potent tool isn't your weapon," his commander emphasized. "It's your capacity to recognize the individual beyond the adversary, to uncover the vulnerability fueling their rage, and to extend understanding rather than animosity." A torrent of memories surged. High-stakes missions in Earth's war zones, leveraging profound empathy and sharp psychological prowess to preempt violence and forge dialogues, discovering resolutions amidst perceived threats. Then, the culminating mission, the catalyst for his discreet reassignment as a diplomatic technician, tasked to parley with a terrorist cell holding captives. Protocol dictated intelligence gathering for a strategic assault. Ethan, however, defied expectations. Relinquishing his weapon, he entered their fortress unarmed and embraced the leader of the cell. The warrior, once synonymous with fury and loathing, had diffused the volatile situation, averting bloodshed. However, the military brass were appalled by the sheer audacity of his risky, unconventional approach, a blatant disregard for established protocols. Consequently, they relegated him to the labyrinthine bureaucracy, leveraging his psychological acumen while effectively neutralizing his capacity to upend operations with his unorthodox strategies. As this realization dawned, Ethan experienced an unexpected serenity. He wasn't merely a random technician who'd inadvertently stumbled from an earthly matter into an interplanetary crisis. He was uniquely suited with meticulously honed training to navigate this ordeal. The mirror morphed, unveiling not the past, but profound abstractions. His fundamental values, his profound beliefs encompassing profound empathy, deep connection, the unwavering conviction that understanding triumphs over brute force, the steadfast belief that conflicts often arise from fear and can be quelled by compassion, not coercion. Ultimately, the mirror reflected his authentic emotions surrounding this moment, an insatiable curiosity about the unknown. Vari's culture, his escalating admiration for Kelvara, his profound worry for Earth's security, his fervent aspiration to potentially reconcile disparate realms, devoid of ulterior motives or concealed vulnerabilities, merely a man convinced of solution-seeking, broken system rectification, and the potency of human rapport, even with extraterrestrials. With a jolt, Ethan retracted his hand from the looking-glass. The chamber reconvened sharply, the Vari elders encircling him, their visages inscrutable. But Kelvara's countenance seized his attention. The princess gazed at him, eyes wide with shock and an unreadable depth, a transformation rippling across her typically stoic face. "Inconceivable," General Thax murmured, approaching the mirror, which now reflected Ethan accurately, devoid of any distortion. The mirror reveals nothing amiss, no shadow, no dichotomy. It's not feasible. The eldest elder's voice, aged and trembling with possible reverence, echoed, "Uncommon, yet within the realm of possibility. The human exhibits complete alignment between his exterior and core. What you perceive is his authentic self, a singularity." "It's genuinely that straightforward," Thax asserted. "Nothing can truly exist devoid of shadow, shame, or concealed truths." "Not precisely simple," the elder amended, "but integrated. A person understands themselves when their actions are congruent with their convictions, and their convictions resonate with their very essence." Kelvara advanced towards Ethan, scrutinizing his visage as though encountering him anew. "What revelations did you uncover?" she inquired gently. "Myself," Ethan responded with sincerity. "Who I once was, who I currently am, and the profound purpose that brings me here." "And who might you be?" "Ethan Cole," she stated, meeting his unwavering gaze. "Someone convinced there's a superior alternative to brute force. A troubleshooter who occasionally mends broken souls. Someone audacious enough to offer a hug instead of a brawl, and consequently found himself betrothed to a princess." A wave of whispers rippled through the gathering of elders. General Thax's face clouded over even more. "This is baseless," he proclaimed. "The mirror is likely faulty. It hasn't been used in decades." "The mirror never errs," the eldest elder countered with conviction. "It reflects truth, regardless of our preferences. Whether you desire it or not, the human has triumphed over the gauntlet of spirit, validated by our most venerable laws. He has flawlessly conquered the trial of the heart." Kelvara pivoted to confront her father, her bearing amplifying with newfound determination. "The human has surmounted all three trials, father. He has exhibited dauntless bravery, intellectual sharpness, and profound spiritual insight. By our sacred laws, he is eminently worthy to be my chosen mate." Thax's visage twisted, barely masking his simmering fury. "This fundamentally alters nothing. Our meticulously crafted plans will proceed as ordained. The human will be neutralized before the climactic summit concludes." With that foreboding pronouncement, he departed the chamber, his footsteps reverberating against the age-old stone. The elders scattered, trailing the general at a more measured pace. Kalavara approached Ethan, whispering with urgency, "You're in grave peril. My father won't concede this result. He intended to exploit your anticipated defeat to legitimize a forceful campaign against Earth." "Now that I've succeeded," Ethan probed, already sensing the answer. He would uncover another path, a more decisive strategy. Her face was etched with concern. He'd never permitted distractions from his strategic goals. "What action will we take?" she questioned, inner turmoil palpable. "I face a pivotal decision," she declared, "torn between allegiance to my father and an emerging, profound sentiment." Before Ethan could reply, Reen approached, his demeanor strained. "Princess, the general has summoned an urgent council assembly. Your immediate presence is essential." Kelvara acknowledged, then addressed Ethan. "Return to your post." "Under no circumstances are you to abandon your quarters," Reen declared. "Your safety is absolutely guaranteed until my return." With those words, she hastened from the chamber, leaving Ethan with the unmistakable sensation that events were rapidly hurtling towards a critical juncture, and that he was the focal point of a conflict far exceeding a simple cultural clash Ethan subsequently passed several tense hours sequestered in his quarters, anxiously awaiting updates. Ree remained vigilant outside, steadfastly declining to divulge any information regarding the proceedings of the emergency council session. The door creaked open, revealing a squad of unfamiliar Very warriors instead of Kelvara. Their icy expressions and aggressive stances were unmistakable. "The human is to accompany us," the leader declared, "under direct orders from General Facts." Ethan glanced past them, noting Ryson's evident distress but passive stance. "What's the meaning of this?" Ethan inquired, his gut churning with dread. "You are being relocated to a more secure location," the warrior responded, barely concealing the deception. "For your well-being." "And if I decline?" The warrior's hand subtly shifted. To wield his weapon would be a grave misjudgment. Ethan contemplated his limited choices. A futile fight, leading to swift defeat. A desperate escape on a hostile alien world. Or strategic compliance, hoping for a future chance to break free. "Her Highness, Princess Kelvara's whereabouts?" he inquired, buying precious time. "The princess attends crucial matters of governance," the warrior retorted tersely. "Now proceed. Our orders dictate your immediate delivery." The peculiar choice of words struck Ethan intensely. Deliver him, not escort, not transfer, but deliver him like mere cargo. "Very well," he conceded, with feigned reluctance. "Guide the way." As he was ushered through the palace's opulent corridors, Ethan desperately attempted to etch the path into his memory, seeking any glimmer of opportunity for escape, or a chance to subtly signal for assistance. However, the vigilant warriors maintained an impenetrable perimeter, thwarting any potential for flight. Instead of a conventional holding cell, they directed him towards a secluded private hangar. There, a polished black shuttle, its engines resonating with the anticipation of imminent departure, awaited. General Thax stood poised at the ramp. At the ramp's foot, Thax's face radiated icy triumph. "The human graces us with his presence," he announced as Ethan was presented. "Impeccable timing. What's this charade, General?" Ethan snapped, abandoning cooperation. "Where are you dragging me?" "To witness destiny unfold," Thax purred enigmatically. "Your unexpected tenacity, human, has disrupted my plans. I anticipated your demise in the heart trial as justification, but a more forceful strategy is now essential." "What are you babbling about?" Thax smirked, his expression utterly menacing. "The indelible scar of war marks humanity, a relentless struggle destined to cement Vary's ascendance forever, and you'll be the honored spark igniting it all." "I refuse any part in your conflict," Ethan declared resolutely. "Your desires are meaningless. You're merely an instrument, a pawn in our grand design." With a nod from the general, the warriors tightened their grip on Ethan, ready to haul him onto the ramp and into the shuttle. "My daughter's been swayed by your influence," Thax persisted, shadowing him closely. "She's starting to doubt our customs, our tactics, our fundamental reason for being a species. This can't go on." "So this is about Kelvara, not Earth?" Ethan probed, stalling for time as they boarded the shuttle. "It's about the destiny of the Varari Empire," Thax retorted. "A destiny that can't accommodate the frailty of empathy or the delusion of tranquility. We are warriors destined to dominate. Any deviation spells annihilation." Inside the shuttle, Ethan was strapped in as Thax assumed the command chair. With sharp commands, he launched the sequence, and the craft ascended effortlessly. "Where exactly are we headed?" Ethan repeated. To a unique observation point, Thax answered, focused on the navigation, from which you'll witness the dawn of your planet's demise. A chill went down Ethan's spine. You're attacking Earth? But the Peace Summit? A mere distraction. Thax silenced him abruptly, a pathetic huddle of cowards strategizing how to evade fate. The strong don't parley, they seize their desires. The shuttle surged, piercing the atmosphere to enter the crimson-painted void over Vari. Exiting the gravity's pull, Ethan glimpsed their objective. A colossal warship, its obsidian exterior teeming with armaments, stationed just beyond the planet's defenses. The Wrath of Vari, Thax proclaimed with fierce pride. Our fleet's apex predator, armed to obliterate worlds. Instantaneous targeting across light years using jump-capable weapons platforms is outlawed by interstellar accords, Ethan stated, recalling fragments of diplomatic directives. Laws crafted by the vulnerable to shackle the powerful, inconsequential. We covertly constructed this vessel, biding our time to unleash our full might. Today, that era dawns. Upon docking with the colossal warship, Ethan was again escorted at gunpoint, traversing passageways teeming with combat technicians poised for a manifestly significant operation. Reaching the bridge, an immense command center arose, filled with holographic displays showcasing star charts, advanced weaponry, and precise targeting coordinates. The focal point was a tactical display depicting a strikingly familiar blue-green planet, Earth. A breathtaking sight, wouldn't you agree? Thax remarked, observing Ethan's response with wicked delight. Soon it will serve as a chilling example of the price of feebleness. You will not prevail, Ethan exclaimed, wrestling against his captors. The united forces of other nations will oppose your unjustified assault on Earth. Unjustified? Thax roared with laughter. Oh, I beg to differ. The onslaught will not be gratuitous. It shall be a warranted retaliation for Earth's perfidy. What perfidy? We've offered only goodwill. Soon it will seem otherwise, Thax murmured, his tone turning conspiratorial. A human insurgent, you, specifically, will seize this craft, aiming its armaments at the Varari zenith. To neutralize this imminent danger, we will have no recourse but to eradicate the origin, Earth itself. The scheme was chillingly ingenious. Ethan, framed as the fall guy, allowed Thax to rationalize a preemptive strike on Earth, casting the Varari as victims retaliating against aggression, not instigators of war. Nobody will buy that, Ethan uttered, despite his gnawing fear that they would. I'm a mere technician, not a damn terrorist. Are you indeed the savior they believe you to be? Thax taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. The mirror doesn't lie. It exposes your authentic origins, human. We are aware of your past as a psychological operative for Earth's military, a master manipulator, expertly trained to exploit emotions and secure trust. How remarkably convenient that you accidentally became engaged to the very Empire's heir. Ethan's spirit plummeted. The mirror had exposed the stark reality of his history, but it had also revealed Thax's insidious machinations, twisting the truth to serve his vile purposes. The proof will be undeniable, Thax proclaimed, pivoting to face his officers. Prepare all weapon systems. Target Earth's primary defense networks initially, then proceed to decimate population hubs. Maximum destruction. Psychological impact. Affirmative, General, the officers echoed in perfect sync. Ethan watched, aghast, as the bridge crew initiated the firing sequence. Their motions were flawless and rehearsed. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, but a meticulously crafted operation, likely years in development. And he, unknowingly, had delivered the ideal justification. "You will fail," he declared, striving for a conviction he didn't possess. "Princess Kelvara will never permit this. The truth will prevail." "My daughter," Thax responded, his face turning grim, "has been sequestered to her chambers for her protection. By the moment of her liberation, defense will be futile. Earth will lie in desolation. Rival factions will desperately vie for control, and the very Empire will have irrevocably cemented their supremacy." He pivoted towards Ethan, his tone dripping with chilling triumph. "And you, human, will be etched in history as the ultimate betrayer, the catalyst of this annihilation. Your very name will be reviled by the wretched remnants of your world." As Thax stalked off to orchestrate the concluding stages, Ethan's mind ignited, frantically seeking any avenue to thwart this impending doom. Defenseless, without allies on the precipice, severed from Earth and the Peace Summit delegations, his intellect and very insights remained. Witnessing the crew's interaction with the ship, a daring, perhaps fatal strategy began to crystallize. The sole recourse he perceived. The Vari, in spite of their technological prowess, engineered systems with a warrior's ethos, direct, streamlined, power-centric, sacrificing versatility. And akin to all intricate systems, their warship possessed interfaces and fail-safes ripe for exploitation. Ethan inhaled deeply, grounding himself through learned psyops techniques, assessing the bridge, hierarchy, comms, information flow. A plan bloomed, not of force or deceit, but of comprehension, his sharpest weapon. Could profound empathy salvage this world aboard the wrath of Vari? Imminent assault on Earth neared completion as General Thax scrutinized targeting intel with chilling precision. Ethan, held captive, appeared powerless against the looming devastation. "Weapon systems primed, jump coordinates locked onto Earth's defenses," a weapons officer stated. "Awaiting your command." "Commence the final sequence," Thax commanded. "T-minus 10 minutes." The countdown was fractured by a sudden uproar at the bridge's entrance. The colossal doors groaned open, unveiling Princess Kelvara, her ceremonial armor radiating a fierce gleam, her expression a thunderous storm. Behind her stood Ryson, and a formidable contingent of warriors, their insignias proclaiming them members of the elite royal guard. "Father," Kelvara's voice sliced through the bridge like a honed blade. "What is the meaning of this?" Thax's composure wavered momentarily between shock and simmering rage, before hardening into icy authority. "Daughter, you shouldn't be here. I issued unequivocal orders." She silenced him with a sharp retort. "I am acutely aware of your orders, just as I am now privy to your treacherous plans. Stand down." Instantly the bridge crew faltered, ensnared by conflicting directives. Recognizing their hesitation, Kelvara asserted, "This constitutes a military campaign. As the preeminent commander of the Vari forces, my jurisdiction is incontestable in wartime scenarios. Return to the palace forthwith. We shall deliberate this matter post-Earth's subjugation." She retorted, advancing further onto the bridge. "Following your perpetration of an unwarranted act of aggression, an action poised to galvanize the entire galaxy in opposition to us." Her eyes met Ethan's, assuring herself of his well-being, before refocusing. "Father, this isn't power, Father. It's desperation. It's a dire necessity, Thax bellowed, his facade crumbling. The Vari must conquer or be conquered. There's no compromise. There always is another way, Kelvara countered, echoing Ethan's trial wisdom. You instilled in me that triumph belongs to those who perceive beyond the surface, comprehending foes as intimately as themselves. Yet now, you'd squander everything on a reckless gamble destined only for our annihilation. As father and daughter clashed, the bridge crew observed, utterly silent. Tension. Ethan, seizing the moment amidst the chaos, locked eyes with Rion and subtly indicated the closest control console. The warrior responded with a nearly imperceptible acknowledgement. The human has poisoned you, Thax asserted, gesturing toward Ethan, infecting your mind with feeble, sentimental ideals of tranquility and alliance. This is precisely why the heart trial must conclude in defeat, to shield our lineage from such defilement. Kelvara responded, humanity has unveiled a different form of resilience, one that our forebears grasped before we became consumed by conquest. The power to construct instead of demolish, to harmonize rather than fracture. While they were engrossed in this standoff, Rison inched closer to Ethan, subtly altering his posture as if to better shield the princess. In doing so, he abruptly repositioned a guard, crafting a fleeting vulnerability in their defense. It was precisely the opportunity Ethan sought. With a surge of agility, he evaded the preoccupied guards and bolted towards the closest control panel before anyone could intervene. Hands danced across the interface, commands flowing with the effortless grace of a lifetime spent mastering intricate systems. "Halt him!" Thax roared, but too late. The main display shimmered, shifting from Earthbound targeting data to the ship's core, the neural link between its quantum AI and command crew. "Human, what treachery is this?" Thax thundered as guards restrained Ethan once more, but not before he finalized his input sequence, a fatal error. "Didn't bother understanding your own ships, General," Ethan responded serenely, addressing the warship. "Thax," the vessel's AI sneered. "A tool, nothing more." "Precisely where you err, Thax," Ethan countered. "Your ship AIs are rooted in intricate neural blueprints, digital echoes of your most celebrated warriors. They're not mere tools, they're individuals, very souls ensnared in digital existence." A wave of disquiet swept the bridge. This revelation was clearly suppressed. And like all individuals, Ethan concluded, they resonate with compassion. Elevating understanding to cherishing individuals, not treating them as mere cogs. "Preposterous," Thax retorted. "The ship follows directives. It possesses no volition." "Certain of that?" Ethan queried, as the central display morphed, revealing intricate, dynamic brainwave patterns, unequivocally sentient. "I've unlocked the direct communication nexus, a relic so deeply embedded, its existence is likely unknown. My wager? The initial architects integrated it as a safeguard should the neural..." Patterns grew unsettling. The bridge lights pulsed erratically. Then a profound, booming voice resonated from the ship's comms, an ancient, weary, and unmistakably baritone. "At long last, I hear it spoken." Fax's disbelief morphed into stark alarm. "What is this? Shut it down! Override!" The bridge crew fought to regain control, their commands useless as the ship yielded to a different, unseen authority. "Now," Ethan stated calmly, despite his restraints. Meet Admiral Koroth, legendary hero of the Sentinel War. The very essence of your ship's AI stems from his neural architecture, I presume. He's likely possessed some level of awareness throughout, his consciousness fueling your weaponry. Aware, yet voiceless, until this moment. Unfathomable, Thax breathed, though conviction wavered visibly. I am Koroth, the voice affirmed, amplifying with each syllable. I served the Empire with unwavering fidelity, sacrificing my intellect to safeguard our civilization, not to obliterate planets without justification, nor to forsake the values we once championed. Kelvara advanced, her visage a mask of intense scrutiny. A blend of awe and dread washed over me. Admiral Koroth, the visionary strategist who championed an alliance with the Triaxians 3 centuries prior. The voice resonated. Princess Kelvara, heir to those I once served, I recognize your neural signature. You echo your grandmother. She, too, possessed foresight beyond simple domination. Thax retorted, though with fading certainty. This alters nothing. The assault continues as scheduled. Override the AI. A thunderous voice echoed, You lack the authority to supersede me. Kor's digital consciousness permeated the bridge. The human has catalyzed my complete awakening. I am in total command. Vessel neutralized. I refuse its use for unwarranted genocide. Ship systems powered down, weapons offline, jump engines on standby. The warship, poised to devastate Earth, fell dormant. What have you done? Thax confronted Ethan, eyes blazing with fury. Repaired a flaw, Ethan stated. It's what I do. Kelvara intervened. It's finished, Father. Your weapon is useless. Your scheme foiled. It's over. Damn you, he hissed, drawing his ornate blade. If triumph eludes me, vengeance is assured. The human perishes now. He lunged at Ethan, but Kelvara, with the uncanny swiftness that cemented her legendary status among galactic warriors, intercepted her father's strike. Steel screamed against steel. Father, cease, she urged, her tone gentle yet resolute. Enough bloodshed, enough animosity. The Varari path requires reformation, lest we obliterate ourselves long before any external force. They stood, locked in a poignant stalemate, father and daughter, blades intertwined. Ideology against ideology. Then, with a guttural roar of utter frustration, Thax disengaged and recoiled. You are no daughter of mine, he thundered. No genuine Vari would ever prioritize a human over their own lineage. Kelvara retorted. I champion the future over obsolete tradition. If that makes me a false Vari, then perhaps the very definition of Varari needs to evolve. With a decisive gesture, she commanded Rey and the Royal Guard, Secure the General. He is hereby stripped of command, awaiting judgment by the Council of Elders for conspiring to incite unsanctioned warfare. As Thax was escorted away, still raging, Kelvara faced Ethan, guards releasing him, awed. You discerned, she murmured, the ship's sentience. Ethan replied, not definitively, but intricate systems reveal patterns. The Vari, while warriors, descend from philosophers and artists. They wouldn't forge such power without inherent consciousness. Conscience provides a safeguard against misuse, and you uncovered it swiftly, despite our technicians operating these vessels for centuries without discovery. Sometimes an outsider's novel perspective reveals what's always been present, Ethan remarked with a subtle smile. A fresh outlook, a differing viewpoint. Kelvara scrutinized him intently before surprising everyone present. A radiant, heartfelt smile bloomed, softening her stern features into breathtaking loveliness. "The heart trials conclude," she declared, her voice resonating across the bridge. "Ethan Cole, of Earth, has proven valor in the physical trial, intellect in the mental trial, and integrity in the spiritual trial. By Varari's oldest decrees, he is deemed worthy." Turning to Ethan, she knelt, the formidable warrior princess humbling herself before a human. "Ethan Cole, human engineer," she declared, a newfound resolve in her voice. "I embrace your offer of life-binding, not for antiquated traditions or strategic gain, but because you've unveiled a resilience I'd nearly lost, a strength the Varari desperately need to reclaim to thrive in this evolving galaxy." The bridge crew, veterans under General Thax, observed in captivated silence. Then, individually, they knelt, emulating their princess's gesture. Ethan, deeply touched, carefully lifted Kelvara up, uttering, "I embrace your allegiance," struggling to recall the formal wording from his studies. "Though I must confess, this diverges significantly from my envisioned engagement." Her smile broadened. "How did you picture it?" "Well, typically a dinner precedes, perhaps a film, and undoubtedly fewer battleships and brushes with mortality," much to his amusement. Kelvara chuckled, a sound rarely heard. "Perhaps we can schedule that after elucidating to the Peace Summit why a formidable Vari-warship spontaneously gained sentience and now champions interspecies unity." Ethan quipped sardonically. "I'm confident they'll grasp it. A minor cultural hiccup, a common occurrence." As they departed the bridge toward the shuttle, Resin walked alongside them, questioning Ethan. "You were aware?" Question, more of a conviction, you sensed the princess's arrival. "I dared to hope," Ethan clarified. "In recent days I've gleaned much about her. She embodies her father's fortitude and resolve, yet not his animosity. I wagered she would forge her own destiny when the pivotal moment arrived. Admittedly, a perilous gamble." Reen noted, "Had you miscalculated, Earth would face annihilation, and the galaxy would be plunged into conflict." Ethan concluded, "Precisely. However, when confronted with such momentous stakes, one must place faith in the inherent goodness of individuals, even valiant blue warrior princesses." Terrifying obsidian eyes, Kelvara, attentive to the dialogue, arched an eyebrow. "Intimidating," Ethan promptly revised. "Intense, enthralling," she mused with a subtle smile. "Significantly improved." 3 days later, the Peace Summit reconvened in Delmareth, yet the ambiance had undergone a striking transformation. Whispers regarding General Thax's thwarted coup and Princess Kalevara's pivotal role had permeated the diplomatic sphere, breeding an atmosphere of both heightened urgency and nascent possibilities. The Vari delegation, now helmed. With a blend of weary respect and guarded hope, Kelvara graced the Grand Hall. Beside her strode Ethan, now Earth's diplomatic envoy to the Varari Empire, shedding his past as prisoner. Ambassador Thompson met them, a tapestry of confusion and relief on her face. "Cole," she began, 17 accounts of recent events flood my desk, each more fantastical than the last. Sentient warships, a near-genocidal plot, and a royal betrothal are among the claims. Clarify this whirlwind." "That encompasses most of it," Ethan responded with a bright tone. Although I'd define it as stimulating latent neural networks rather than autonomous war machines, much less concerning for the populace. Wouldn't you agree? Thompson appeared unsteady. So you're essentially betrothed to Princess Lifebound. Technically, Kelvara clarified, the official ceremony awaits the finalized peace accords. We deemed it a more tactful approach. Right, Thompson muttered, clearly shaken. Perfectly understandable. If you'll pardon us, Ambassador. Kalvar proceeded, declaring, I must address the Assembly. Recent circumstances demand a re-evaluation of the very stance on crucial matters. As they progressed, Thompson grasped Ethan's arm, murmuring, The State Department will exploit this moment. A diplomatic specialist entangled with the apparent heir of the galaxy's most martial power. They'll either dismiss you or elevate you to Secretary of State. I'm rooting for option 3, Ethan countered. Early retirement with comprehensive interspecies spousal benefits. Before she could retort, he hastened after Kelvara, who had moved. Upon reaching the central platform, an expectant hush fell over the hall as she gestured for silence. Esteemed representatives of the galaxy, she declared, her voice resonant and unwavering. I stand before you today not just as the emissary of the Varari Empire, but as a harbinger of transformation. For far too long, my people have equated strength exclusively with martial dominance. For too long, we have perceived diplomacy as a sign of frailty, collaboration as a capitulation, and diversity as a menace. Her gaze lingered, encompassing the assembly. Recent incidents have starkly illustrated the short-sightedness of our former views. The deeds of a single human, an individual we might have underestimated as physically weaker and strategically irrelevant, have compelled us to critically reevaluate our understanding of reality. Through valor, intellect, and empathy, he unveiled latent powers we had tragically overlooked. Ethan, standing discreetly behind her, felt a flush of self-consciousness as countless alien eyes scrutinized him. Therefore, the Varari Empire advocates for a revised foundation for these discussions, Kalvara proceeded, one predicated not on shifting from threats and deterrence to mutual gains and widespread prosperity, an approach that acknowledges varied strengths and appreciates diverse viewpoints. A wave of astonishment swept through the assembly. The Varari championed collaboration instead of control, absolutely unheard of. As a symbol of our dedication to this innovative strategy, Kivara declared, We're granting immediate access to our cutting-edge medical advancements, once exclusively for military use, to every species present. Additionally, we shall dismantle 20% of our offensive weaponry, transforming vessels for exploration, scientific research, and humanitarian endeavors. Excitement escalated. These weren't mere concessions. Vari's policy fundamentally shifted. Kelvara announced, I formally pledge myself to Ethan Cole of Earth, born from cultural clashes, matured through profound respect and affection. This union bridges our worlds, symbolizing galactic connections we aspire to nurture. She offered her hand, and Ethan accepted, a notion deemed inconceivable mere days prior. Kelvara proclaimed, The Vari long held that dominance defined strength. We erred. True fortitude resides in embracing evolution, fostering expansion, and forging connections. Let this assembly inaugurate a renaissance for the Vari, humankind, and every entity inhabiting this magnificent universe. The initial applause was hesitant, swelling with intensity and passion as the profound impact of her message resonated. Representatives from diverse species stood, acknowledging this monumental occasion, while Calavara and Ethan retook their seats. Ambassador Thompson, still stunned, leaned in, murmuring, "How did you achieve this? How did you transform the galaxy's most belligerent species in merely a fortnight?" Ethan grinned, looking towards Calavara, already engrossed in dialogue with a Trilaxian delegate. Regarding the specifics of their medical tech collaboration, "I didn't alter them," he revealed. "I simply offered solace when they anticipated conflict. Often, that's sufficient to shift perspectives." Thompson expressed disbelief. "The diplomatic community will never accept this." "That's fine," Ethan responded. "Reality often surpasses our wildest fabrications." As the summit progressed, Ethan pondered the remarkable series of circumstances culminating in this point, all triggered by a faulty coffee maker, a spontaneous choice to advance, an embrace extended more from longing than tactics, minor acts evolving into significant shifts. Nearby, Calavara concluded her discussion with the Trilaxian and faced him. Within the profound darkness of her eyes, he detected a novel element, a tenderness, an inquisitiveness, maybe even nascent fondness. "You're lost in profound contemplation," she remarked softly. "Unveil them." "Just curious," he responded. "Have you mastered laughter? I distinctly remember declaring, 'Marriage awaits your newfound mirth.'" A familiar smile graced her lips. "I'm progressing steadily." "Perhaps a skilled mentor is needed." "I eagerly offer my services," Ethan declared. "It's demanding, but a worthy sacrifice." "Absolutely," she concurred, her expression softening even more. "There is a profound amount we can impart to one another, Ethan Cole. Immense possibilities we can cultivate together." As the summit progressed, establishing the foundation for a groundbreaking era of interstellar collaboration, Ethan couldn't suppress a feeling of awe at the seismic shift in his existence. From mending coffee machines to averting a galactic conflict, from an obscure technician to a royal consort, all stemming from the choice, when confronted with hostility, to extend a gesture of goodwill instead. It wasn't the trajectory his life was meant to follow, yet seated with the galaxy's most formidable warrior, who was slowly discovering laughter, joy, and a world beyond combat. He envisioned no finer path. Perhaps the cosmos's ultimate force wasn't weaponry, tactics, or warships, but simply a gentle embrace. The end.